afternoon, everybody. A month away from kickoff as we get into August. The calendar flips. We got Jim Scarcelli, the former Wolverine, with us here on the Maize and Blue Review. It's great to see him. Scar, welcome in. How are you?
Fired up, man. We're talking Michigan. Things are good. Everything's falling in place.
You should be fired up. You know, you got the season is a month from today, and that means practice started today as well. So, man, you get that first day of practice, and you know, guys are ready to go.
Yeah, they start earlier. We used to start 3 weeks before the first game.
Oh.
And I think what they did, you know, we had double sessions, though. We had the freshmen came in for 3 days, and then the full team would come in, and you had 2 weeks of doubles and then game week. So you had you came in, and then 3 weeks, then you had your game. But I think what they've done is since they eliminated doubles, they've lengthened it. They come in that extra week. So I guess to make up for that work, it's still, you know, it's longer for the kids on one end, but you're not beating them up with double sessions.
Yeah, I kind of remember when I started out. So I don't know, 95, like they would invite the media in for the first day, but it was just freshmen. So you would go there. And so the freshmen are all with the upperclassmen. Now I don't think they just have a freshman day. I don't know if it was 3 days like there, but it was, there was at least one day you'd go out there and be like, hey, 95 wasn't a bad day to see all the freshmen. You had, Woodson was out there. You had number 10, Tom Brady was out there. It's like, hey.
Oh, that was his freshman year?
Yeah, both of those guys. Yeah. But, nobody.
I remember coming in as a freshman. It's just the freshmen. The coaches were all nice and pleasant. You know, they were real, worked you in easily. But then when the upperclassmen came in, then it was like, okay, wow, this is big time football now.
All right, we're going to talk some big-time football today. We've got Scar watched a few of the things in Indianapolis with the coaches and the players. We'll get his takeaways from Media Day. Also, Scar's thoughts on the barbecue. He's been looking at the depth chart. We've got a video to show. Scar, before we get to all of that, we do have, I would say, breaking news. We got Michigan picked up another commitment for this upcoming season for the 24 year, and they are now sitting at number 5 on Rivals 24 team rankings. And the young man that they got, Josiah Edmond, he is out of Indiana, 3-star athlete. Corner, Michigan just missed out on some corners. As they miss out on him, they pick up this Edmond kid from Indiana, and so he makes number 27. So if you're playing along at home or following at home, Michigan has a transfer in Josiah Stewart, and now they have an athlete coming in, Josiah. So Saya and Zaya. I've never seen a Zaya spelled like this, but I like it.
Yeah, he was committed to Purdue. So that's great when we go into Indiana. We've always done well in Indiana. I played with a lot of guys from Indiana, so that's great news. We can beat out the new coach for an in-state kid, and we beat some people on him. So that's a great thing.
Yep, number 27 for the Wolverines. Now, the 25 class already has 3 commitments, although Mantrez Walker out of Georgia, I think he took a visit this past week, and I think he said he's open. So I don't know if that, if he took his commitment back, but it's at least one to watch. This is a long ways away. Talking about these guys are going to be juniors, and Chris Ewald out of Hollywood, Florida, committed back, was the first, to commit a long time ago. But just yesterday, a defensive end out of Howell, Michigan, Bobby Kanka, put his pledge in, wanted to get it over with. So at least,
I watched him play, Denny. He's a good-looking kid. He's young kid, but big, strong, fast, athletic kid. Saw him play for Howell, and local kid. So that's what you really want to be. Where we're getting the Michigan kids, and Michigan State might get a couple here and there, maybe 15, 20%, but we want to lock down this state, and they'll get 15, 20%. And that's when we go. That's where we want to be at, old school.
I'm with you on that. Here's account 22 talking more recruiting and a Dylan Stewart. And James is counting it down. The Rudy of Michigan. He's got his tickets for the opener for UNLV, and then the night game and Indiana. So he's got some tickets, and I got Richard talking about that size coming in from Howell on the recruiting front. Those that want to know even more on the recruiting front, well, you know what to do. If you don't, I'm here to tell you. It's joining the Maize and Blue Review by going to michigan.rivals.com. I'm going to say it. It's taken off, with a month to go the season. You get practice reports. I'm not going to speak for Josh. Last year, how it went, I was surprised that almost, I don't know about daily, but it seemed like daily reports on what was going on, some intelligence from practice, the recruiting, everything that's going on with the transfer portal, football, basketball. And what we ask is you to give us a shot. And we think that you'll like it. So go to michigan.rivals.com, join up the Maize and Blue Review. Great for the Michigan fan in your life. And that Michigan fan might just be you. Scar, the barbecue was over the weekend. Michigan had it. And, it's one of those big recruiting weekends. You get players coming in, heck, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, all of those. And, how about your thoughts on, the barbecue that that Michigan had this year?
This thing started with Rich Rod. This one of the great things that Rich Rod started for us is the barbecue, and other people are doing it now. And it's been something that Brady Hope carried it on. Jim's carrying it on. It's a big thing. And I just want to throw this out. I heard there's some people talking about the menu, that it wasn't up to stuff. It was kind of just hot dogs. I know a guy. I'm not going to tell you who he is. He went to Michigan State's barbecue on Saturday. He went to Michigan's on Sunday. He said ours was better. The whole presentation was better. I can't tell you who it was, but so I had a good source tell me that our barbecue was top notch. And they got limits on what you can spend. I did some research. It's supposed to be you only spend like $25, Danny, on that. So you can't have one school feeding them steaks and this and that, and the other guy maybe a Northwestern Indiana, they can't afford some of those things like other schools. So I think that's why they put limits on it. And and you're seeing that.
Yeah, well, it's one thing to think about. You might be out there like, hey, can't they just give them whatever they want? Can't they give them a big stack of cash? I mean, hey, it's NIL. Well, no, that would be a recruiting inducement. You're not supposed to be doing that. So there are limits. Now, once they sign, they can go out there and secure some deals. Still, they're not just supposed to be getting, pipeline money. But so all of that makes sense, to have some, I'll say it, guardrails, to get everybody and having them abide by them. So, the funny thing. Go ahead.
When I was getting recruited, there were the unofficial visits. You could go. I went to Michigan 6-8 times with my buddies to watch basketball games. I went to Michigan State many times to watch basketball games. I'd bring all my buddies, and they would get tickets, feed all of us. I mean, I remember one time going to Michigan State. They had an official weekend with other guys who were on their official visits, and we got to go through a buffet line, and we ate like kings. And I remember going to Ann Arbor, and my buddies were coming back with hot dogs stuffed in their pockets. It was unlimited. It was a different deal back then. They didn't have limits on a lot of that stuff. And so all this stuff is counted and watched, and you can't stretch it or you get in trouble.
Right. No, and that makes sense. I can remember back in the day, I was standing outside the news conference room, and Lamar Woodley was there, and there was a spot in the corner. They had like some hot dogs that they had brought down from the press box, and I knew where those were at, so I was in there. Lamar was like, "What's going on over there?" Somebody said, "Well, what do you think Lamar Woodley liked he liked this visit. I said, he liked the hot dog. I can tell you that. That was first count. That was my little inside scoop that Lamar Woodley, he'd like putting mustard on his hot dog, and he liked it. So did I.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that the source I talked to said that the Michigan presentation, the whole demeanor, the whole deal was first class. So this is come from a guy who was at both of them.
Well, it's really funny. We could sit around talking about social media for an hour and the pluses and minuses. One kid showed his plate, and he got a plain, lame-looking hot dog and a cookie and some mac and cheese, and he put it online. And everybody's like, "This is a lame-looking barbecue." Well, if they took a picture of the buffet line or everything that was being offered, and that was it, well, then I could see why complaining about it, but it didn't matter. People just, it doesn't matter to people. They just want to take and run with whatever they have. Now, James is talking about another part that I could speak to. He's saying nothing better than the hot dogs and burgers in front of Pioneer at the golf course. For, I don't know, 14 years, I was doing a pregame show at different times. Right there where he's talking about at Pioneer, right where you get ready to cross. And, James is right. Those hot dogs and hamburgers right there were great. Wherever they got them from, whoever was cooking them up, it was as good. You didn't even need to go tailgate. Just go right there, James. I'm with you. You would see that, and people would be like, "What are you talking about, Pioneer? They were selling." Yeah, they were. Wherever they're getting those hot dogs and hamburgers from, I'm with you. They were tremendous, James. Good job. Good job. All right, Scar, that's the barbecue. You were looking at the depth chart. Something jump out to you on the depth chart?
Well, I want to talk about the concept of depth chart. I think it's something as a coach that I realize depth chart changes daily. I mean, he's got 140 players, and it's constantly changing based on, he's getting reports from Ben Herbert. He's got an injury here. What's going on with the 7-on-7 here? And then once practice starts, where you're putting the pads on and coaches evaluate every single play, every practice, every drill, it's constantly going up and down. Guys are moving up, moving down, making mental mistakes, or some guys have, so that's the thing I wanted to talk about, the depth chart. It is never set in stone. I know as a player, that thing changed daily. You had a good practice, bam, you're with the second string. You have a couple bad practices, bam, you're back down with the third string. I've been there as a player, and you're fighting like heck to maintain if you're trying to be a second team guy, or you're sure, if you get to be a first team guy, you're fighting like heck in practice every day. So it is a constantly, especially as we work through these 3 weeks, prior to game week. Game week, it'll be finalized, but you got 3 competitive weeks where every day matters, every drill matters, every scrimmage, and coaches are sizing them up every day. Okay, where do we stand? Because I know I did it as a coach, and it changes all the time.
Yeah, and you want to fight like hell because you want to be a starter. I mean, if you're right there, like, sure, the first thing is you want to get in the 2 deep, and then, the next thing is you want to see how many snaps you can get. But if you can start, man, you want to be a starter. So, yeah, you'll work your tail off over these next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, and then, there's some guys that you might move down, and then you're going to wonder why. I had this on my chart as a high school coach. I might have a kid's name in red letters, and some guys are in blue. Well, why is my name in red? Well, you're doing things that are high risk. You're screwing around in school. You're giving the teacher mouth. I looked at your grades, and it's not very good. There's things that you tell a guy, look, you're high risk. You're moving down because of these situations. So, Jim is presenting those things all the time to his players. That, look, you're doing things that make me think maybe I can't count on you.
All right. I like it. Culture. Did you take something away from?
Yeah, Denny, I wanted to. I don't want to defend PJ Fleck because I don't know all the details, but I've heard that. What is the word that they use for him? The toxic environment, right? Toxic.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, I remember a long time, really good high school coach here in my area. They fired the guy. Left. He was there a long time, and one of the terms they used was mental anguish. Mental anguish. He was giving the players, right? Mental anguish. Well, listen, a coach's job is to get a guy ready to play on Friday night as a high school coach, or Saturday in front of 100,000 people, you know, on national television, and you got to challenge them with mental anguish or test him mentally. So the point I want to make, Denny, is, again, I don't know all the things that goes on with Minnesota and Fleck, and they were beating them up a little bit for some of this toxic stuff. But I am in support of firm, hard, tough, in your face coaching. You know, as you know, Coach Moeller used to say this all the time. He said, listen, we're going to coach you guys hard. When we're looking at film, I mean, guys were shredded on a daily basis, embarrassed. And coaches will talk to you differently than how a professor can talk to you on campus, or how a teacher can talk to a kid. And, you know, I didn't talk to my players the same way I talked to my students as a teacher, you know. So my point is, and he would get after us. He said, look, I got to get you guys mentally tough. If you can't handle me in this film room and or how we coach on the field, you're not going to be able to handle the mental toughness that it's going to take to play in front of 100,000 people. So I am a guy who's about, you know, obviously you got to care about the kid and you got to be fair and consistent, but there's nothing wrong with challenging a kid mentally, even if, you know, if you got to hurt his feelings a little bit. You got to, I don't know if I don't want to give examples, but, you know, obviously you don't want to go too far, but you got to sometimes challenge kids and you got to get in their face.
Yeah, I mean, you know where those lines are at, but, you know, you are talking about football. I mean, you can't go over there, and not everybody can be like, you know, let's pat everybody on the head, and, you know, let's just, you get out there on Saturday, guys are trying to rip your head off and kill you, you know, pretty much. So you got to be ready to go. There's a toughness aspect to football more than any other sport. So, you know, some of that, yeah, you got to get ready to go. A little bit like the military, you know.
Right. I didn't hear a lot of profanity when I played at Michigan, and I never used it as, you don't have to cuss at guys to be tough and demanding and get. But there's a part of challenging a kid mentally that you have to see how he can respond, and I believe that as a coach, and I totally understand it, and I'm a little reluctant when I hear, you know, some of these college coaches that get criticized for that until, you know, but again, I don't know all the details of how they're defining toxic.
I didn't really look into all the details there either with PJ Fleck. I did see that there were a number of players. I don't know if every single one of them, but there was a big pushback by the current players and saying, look, you know, we like Fleck. They were standing by him. Now, I don't know if it was every single one or anything else, but doesn't look like he's getting canceled or removed or anything, but it is something, you know, just to keep in the back of your mind. Now, Fleck was in Indianapolis along with Jim Harbaugh selected players from Michigan, Blake Corum, Mike Sainristil, who was a captain last year. Chris Jenkins was there. We want to get your takeaways from Indianapolis. First, I want to tell people, go get some takeaway from Reno's Dogs, Reno's hot dog stand and catering. The next opportunity to do that is coming up August the 10th. Well, what's that? That's a week from tomorrow. Northville Winery and Brewery. Go see the guys there and tell them, good afternoon, Michigan football sent you. All right, Scar, you watched some of the coverage of Big Ten Media Days. Give me a takeaway or two.
Just really impressed with the three guys we had. You know, when the players are talking, they're talking of what they hear every day in practice from the leader. You know, and they're just repeating it. So Jim is sending the message, and I guarantee you we would have got those same answers from 100 players. So Sainristil, you know, was outstanding. You know, all three of Corum and Jenkins, all of them were great. Sainristil, he talked about the trips, Danny, we take, and how much team building in getting to know a guy outside of football. And I got to believe, Jim, that was part of his, part of his plan too. Let's promote, let's let these kids see the world. But at the same time, we're going to build a team here. So that was talked about. So that's something that people need to think about. Coach DiNardo, I love listening to Coach DiNardo. He recruited me back in the day, but he said something I disagree with. He said, he talked about Michigan being complacent, possibly being complacent. He doesn't know Jim Harbaugh if he thinks we're going to be a complacent team. Guys, one of the most competitive guys I've ever been around. There ain't going to be no complacency from that leader. And if the leader's not complacent, the assistant coaches won't be. And if the assistant coaches aren't going to be, the players aren't going to be. You got 100-some guys fighting for playing time, 100,000 people. Ain't no one complacent in Ann Arbor. So I totally disagree with Coach DiNardo that that we're just going to be a hungry, pissed off team, just like we've been the last 3 years. Any thoughts on that so far, Danny?
Yeah, I like the team building comment. I did not hear DiNardo say that. I would have to, I think about it myself with the players that came back. And, if Michigan had won it all, they got a bad taste in their mouth. TCU, if they felt, if you're on a team and you feel like you've, maximized, even if you end up not winning the championship, but you maximized everything that you could do. And you go in, you feel like, hey, maybe you're all right then. And maybe that would make you complacent. But, Michigan, yeah, they did a great job going down to Ohio and beat the Buckeyes and winning the Big Ten again. But, that was, I don't want to say embarrassing. That was not the kind of game that they wanted to play in the college football semifinal. So they missed a chance. I think they got a bad taste in their mouth. I think if there's going to be any complacency, it would be in the non-conference slate, because you look at that and they just got the three easiest games again. But to your point, Michigan's got a coach who's pretty good at being able to get guys, playing, on game day and practice and everything else. He'll have them ready. We can sit around talking about it. Go ahead.
We'll be ready. There's just too many players that are going to be battling for playing time, and they're going to try these guys out in the first 3 games. I mean, there's competition to get on the field, and that's the thing that I think people are overlooking. There's just so much competition, so many good players that we've recruited that is going to constantly be the enemy of complacency is the competition. You know what I mean? There's nobody that can just roll out and roll up on State Street and have a crummy practice and expect to play and start. There's nobody there. And another thing I really liked, I love listening to Corum. Corum sounds like a coach. Corum said the things, I know maybe a lot of people don't want to hear it, but Corum said, one game at a time. That's what coaches talk about. One game at a time. He's talking about ECU. So I loved hearing that from Corum. I'm even more impressed with what's going on in Wisconsin. I'm kind of glad we don't get them. But I think he's going to do a good job over there. Fickle. He's got that quarterback. Watch out for Wisconsin. A lot of people picked them, and he's got. I always thought that quarterback at SMU was one of the best in the country. I thought the Lions should have taken him if he was going to come out. I mean, I was really impressed with that kid. Now he's going to play his last year up there. One last thing, Danny, I got from listening to some of these coaches, these head coaches, is how much time is the NIL is taken out of their life, their responsibility as a head coach. It's a 365. It's a game week. It's year round. NIL. You got to be tuned in, and hopefully you can delegate more. That's why you really got to have great coordinators, and you got to have great assistants. If you're pulled into NIL stuff, I know what it is to be a head coach, obviously only at the high school level, but there's things you're dragged into all the time that got nothing to do with football, that just eat away at your ability to, scout the opponent. So you really got to have great assistants, and the transfer, the NIL, you got to be aware of it. You got to have good people delegated watching it. And that's something that is, newer and more responsibilities for a head coach.
Some of the feedback in terms of complacency, Richard says the unfinished business should be a good incentive. Michael saying that the media still has a negative perception about Michigan. They need to be more open-minded. Yeah, I think painting the media with a large brush. I don't think myself that the media has a negative perception about Michigan. I think the media, if I would generalize the media, they have a real positive perception about Michigan. Most of the media thinks that Michigan should be a top 3 team in the country, thinks that they're going to have a good chance to win the Big Ten, and most of that media that you're talking about there, Michael, they're going to be picking Michigan to make the college football playoff again. So, you might cherry pick a guy or two, maybe, locally or something, but, by and large, the media is bullish on Michigan. So I disagree with that. JP says our coaching staff, the veteran players, he doubts that motivation will be a problem. They also have this us against the world card that they can play when Harbaugh gets suspended a game or 2 or 3. I know, it was talked about 4. It sounds like that's going to get reduced, but they'll be able to use that. We don't have our leader. We're out here playing for coach. So they could use that if there was anything, for a little bit of motivation.
Yeah, some other things. Coach talked about the Georgia drill, and he made a good point. He said we want to be able to run the ball when they know we're going to run the ball, and that was one of the things he talked about. Georgia, Georgia, at the end of the game they got to close somebody out. They could run. That was one of the greatest things about 2 years ago when we beat the Buckeyes at home, Denny. That one of those final drives where the Buckeyes knew we had to run the football, and we still hammered it down there and scored at the end, and the snow was coming down. And that's what you got to be able to do. So that was one of the things he talked about with the Georgia drill. But he also talked about the edge group, the position, the competition in the edge room, and it's a great problem that we have there's 4 guys that could start there. So whoever starts the first game, I don't think you're going to see the same 2 guys start the whole year at the edge position. There's going to that position is going to be constantly evaluated. I think you got 4 real good ones, and either way we go, we're going to be in good shape. But he talked about that position. He talked about 10 guys that he feels good with in the offensive line, and just thought that was interesting. He pointed out the edge as an area that has really great competition.
I'm with you. I liked hearing all that too. Again, I don't think ESPN hates Michigan. I don't agree with that. I think Paul Feinbaum likes to use Michigan, and Michigan fans hate Paul Feinbaum. And, he did, was up to some of his old tricks again this year. But again, by and large, you go, I don't know, we're going to go person to person that is there. We know that they, have the SEC right. So you might feel like there's going to be some things slanted, but I just don't think this is true. But fans can think whatever they want. All right, Scar, how about you get a couple plays or something that we can look at?
Yeah, let's jump over here. I want to look at a few plays. This is last year. You look at our tight end receivers that can block. Scooney was so good blocking, and let's not underestimate the great center play we had. I mean, we had one of the best, All-American center. So we got the kid from Stanford, but we had great center play. Let's look at this reverse. We had a good success with this play. But look at the block here by our tight end now, Scooney. You talk about this kid Loveland and all that. How great, how good is he going to be? But is he going to give us this? Are you going to give us this? Look at his blocking here and the blocking here. And that's just a great scheme. Conflict off our best stuff. And then if you ever want to comment about a play, just pipe in. And here, this is JJ. This is against Iowa. Here's All-American play. Is he going to be able to do this the second year in the Big Ten? These coaches are got to get smarter. That's just terrible contained by that end. But that's All-American type football play.
Yeah, that was the first drive of the game. He was awesome on that.
Yeah, here's 4-man pressure that we want to, we want to be able to do. We showed it last week in a little film we showed, but Can we get the 4-man pressure?
Hey, Scar, if I know we're talking defense right now, but we go back just for a second. You talked about those tight ends besides Colston Loveland. I also thought it was, Harbaugh said he couldn't have talked any more glowing about Loveland, but he also mentioned the transfer from Indiana, AJ Barner. And I think he said that he expected him to be a pro, like get drafted. So, you pointed, we watched a little bit of his, he's a big guy. There's your blocker. There's somebody that's going to punch you in the mouth.
No, Jim did talk about all 5 tight ends. Yes. Now here, listen, this formation we're in right here, we're going to be one of the only teams in the Big Ten that was going to run this. Under center, 3 tight ends. Okay, so this is great. This is great for us. That it's our package. It's what we do. It's great for our defense. And again, here's 3 tight ends under center, and here's big. We got to get blocking like we got from Scooney, and we're running this ball in here. And great job by Corum. But again, this is a formation. Now, Nebraska, I think he's going to run some of this stuff. But you're not going to see this from Ohio State. You're not seeing that from Michigan State. And that's good stuff. And here we go with 4 tight. Here we go with against Indiana. We got what I got here, Denny, is I got 4 tight ends under center. Again, we're under center. People don't run this stuff hardly in the Big Ten anymore. 4 tight ends under center, but we got to get away from imposters. This is a tackle here, Denny. That's a tackle there playing lined up as a tight end. He's got probably a 70 number. And then here's Honigberg. But this year, hopefully we can play all 4 legitimate tight ends that can catch the ball, that can block. This is Bredesen here. And so that's what I'm talking about, because I just think it's tougher to defend when you have everybody that's eligible, could throw the ball to them type tight end. You follow me?
I do follow you. I like that.
Again, we had great safety play. Rod Moore is going to be an all Big Ten safety. Let's see. This is the little things, Danny. I'm going to show you some kicks here. This is coaching. This is Jay Harbaugh. This is coaching. This is smart. You got to know where to bring your pressure. Look what the ball's on the hash. Michigan knows they're going to bring pressure right here. Okay? They're not bringing it over here by the hash mark. They're bringing it right to the center of the goalpost. Little things. Okay? I got this down here. Little things blocked from the proper spot. So what happens? We're in a tight game here. It's 10-10. Look where our pressure is. We block the kick. That's smart. That's coaching. That's players that listen to coaching. We bring the pressure at the right spot. Big play in that game. Let's continue. I'm going to show you some things the opponent does that they're just not as good as us. Again, there's JJ getting outside the pocket, showing, and Kojo. We need more of that. All right, here's 8 and 6. I got them highlighted. Just the blocking, the great blocking by our receivers. And this is some good stuff. And we should be able to get this from all 4 of our tight ends. What we're doing here with Scooney. But great blocking. Are we going to get that kind of blocking? We should, with Roman and Kojo back. Nice play call, nice scheme. Good stuff. All right, here we go again now. Here's the little things, Denny. Here's us kicking the ball against Penn State's defense. Okay, we just saw the effort from Michigan. Yep. This is the same exact situation. Look how Penn State's coached up. Look at their effort. You see that effort?
No, I didn't see any effort. I saw some guys.
It's not there. There is no effort.
Right.
This is why I want Manny Diaz back. I want him back. I don't want him going nowhere. You can have 4 or 5-star kids. If this is how you're going to coach it, compared to how Michigan coaches, look at them. They're just kind of flopping around, aren't they? Ain't no block kick there. This
I
ain't
mean, are
got
there
nothing to
calls
do.
where they're thinking that the potential fake, so they're like,
No, man,
"Don't
it's just
rush it."
effort. It's coaching. It's effort.
That's the way it looked. I mean, that's what it looks like. But I'm thinking, hey, maybe they call it like watch the fake.
Whatever. But I'll go against that guy any day of the week. I don't want to go against Jay Harbaugh. Okay, here's some more. Anyway, the effort, another kick.
Wow, yeah, those guys they just don't.
Denny, those are the little things. This is why we lift. This is why we've been crushing it all summer against Penn State. On the goal line, you got to get movement. Corum, nothing there, gets them in there. But I wanted to point out that extra point, that field goal, because that's coaching, man. That stuff is coaching. You get what you emphasize. Again, look at that effort from Penn State.
No, there's no effort there.
There's nothing there. But not only is it a weak effort, are they lined up at the right spot to block the kick? Look where the ball is. You know, we brought our pressure. We were smart. Our guys were coached. We brought it really, they're not even lined up right like we are.
Yeah, you know where that kick's going to be, so try to get your hand up.
That's right. And bring the pressure at the right spot. Here's creative conflict off your best stuff. Influence stuff, influence release. Anyway, this is a different thing here. We're running the ball here, but it's a little thing, Denny, that the fans probably don't see, but I know as a coach, see, people are reading this guy. Maybe a safety is reading this tight end right here. Okay. You don't know who they're reading, but he's taking a release away from the play you're like, why are you releasing that way? But you'd be surprised. Let's go real slow. What did I do? What the heck did I do?
I don't know if you can get it back, but that was one of the best plays for Michigan all year. They ended up taking it to the house on that one.
Anyway, yeah, he's probably looking here, and let's see how his coverage is, getting to this play. And then he's late to get there.
Look at that.
All right, so my point is, Denny, sometimes the reason you have late secondary support is because of some of this stuff where our coaches are doing. They're like, how's this guy keying? What's he keying? What's this linebacker keying? They see that tight end release this way. They don't know what's going on. It throws a wrench in their keys. You follow me? And that extra step gives Donovan what obviously we get great blocking down here. This is the number one play Michigan runs. We get good blocking here, tight end tackle, and then we're always going to pull two guys from the backside, and we just do a great job there. This guy's reading this. If he comes upfield, he's going to kick him out. If he comes under, he'll read it, and then this guy will read how he's taking on that block. So he's going to kick him out. Zinner's kicking him out. He seals inside. But I guess the point I was making is maybe this safety was late to react because he was reading that influence block by the tight end. You follow me?
I do.
So it's all warfare is based on deception, right? The art of war, Sun Tzu. Coaches are constantly trying to deceive the enemy. Okay, here's a similar formation: confused, overplay. Now we just ran that play for a touchdown, right? With Donovan.
Yes.
Same formation now. We've got the back here instead of here. Okay, so
Corum takes it to the house. Yeah.
Same kind of scenario, same team, and now they're going to overplay it, and Corum sees it and he cuts it back. You follow me?
Oh man, those two plays back-to-back series. I mean, like Penn State's run defense, I think, was number one in the country.
Yeah, and they're overplaying the play we just ripped them on. Sometimes as a defensive player, defensive coach, guys will run the same play over and over until you stop it. But now we have it looks similar, but as Corum sees the cutback there, and the defense is overplaying the play, and you got to out-coach them and outplay them. And those are little things there that I think our coaches did a great job with.
I'd love to have an ISO cam on Manny Diaz on those two plays.
Again, look at the effort from Penn State trying to block. That ain't like Michigan's. Ours is much better. So anyway, that's it for today on that. And
I love it.
Yeah, Denny, what else did I have here? What else did Harps talk? It's something to think about as we go. He's going to have to pick a coach, right? the big decisions are going to be, you've got to try to figure out what does Jim want to do when it's 4th and 2 on the 30-yard line. You know what I mean? Does he want to kick the field goal on the 35? Those are going to be the tough decisions. Do you go for it? Do you punt it? You know, those are really the tough decisions that, you know, the interim head coach is going to have to make. That, you know, calling plays is, we're not going to miss a beat there. The defense, we're not missing a beat. It's, you know, do we punt? Do we go for it? Do we kick the field goal? Do we go for it? You know, those kind of things.
Well, yeah. Well, the extra wrinkle is that Sharon Moore, who might be the easy decision to have him, you know, be the acting head coach when Harbaugh is suspended, he's going to be suspended for a game. So that puts a little bit of a wrinkle in things.
Yeah, like I said, Danny, if my choices would be non-coordinators would really, you know, Klink, Hart, you know, Elston, those kind of deals. Yeah, Jim can phone. I don't know if Jim's going to have the ability to phone in. How about this? JJ's 10 pounds heavier. So it might affect his speed a little bit, but that's going to be great. It should help his durability, ability to take on hits. So that's just something that I saw there. I saw Notre Dame getting 10 million, Danny, 10 million. Notre Dame, 10 million from Under Armour to wear Under Armour. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I have somebody that gives me a report. It seems like almost every week he is convinced that Notre Dame, that NBC is going to, it's going to be a leverage that Notre Dame's going to have to join the Big Ten. By the way, that same guy who was out there is telling me that today, keep an eye on Florida State, because he thinks Florida State, even though there's a $300 million buyout to get out of the ACC, that Florida State and Clemson could possibly be joining the Big Ten. But Florida State's the domino, and there's a Regents meeting at 3:00 coming up. So, and over an hour right now, if you hear about Florida State joining the Big Ten, don't be surprised about that. A lot of people talking about Oregon and Washington, and I don't know if those things are all going to happen on the same day, but Florida State's the one today that I'm interested in to see if it's going to happen or not. Under Armour, I'm with Richard, man. You know, Michigan's got Jumpman. They got the Jordan gear. I think Michigan's got the best apparel deal, you know, that's out there. So,
and it matters, Danny. I think that stuff, you know, you'd think that it wouldn't matter to recruits, but I think there's certain kids that, you know, some of that stuff matters. What are you wearing, man?
You got that right. It does. Now, Mark is chimed in a few times. He doesn't like the idea of putting a rush on a kick of 40 or under, because you could turn the 3 into a 7. He's not going to go for a block under 40 mid-game. And
yeah, well, you can rush. I mean, I get that. You can rush 2 or 3 guys at that point of attack. I mean, Michigan only brought a few guys right at that point. You know, you're still going to cover the tight ends and the wings. I understand that argument, but some of those kicks were close for Michigan. We were 15, 20-yard line. You know, why aren't they trying to block that? So,
no, and I think your point, find out, Scar, where that kick is where the line is for that kick, and get somebody to put their hand
out.
You
work on that. You as a coach, you work on that. Okay, this is where the ball, you know, where's the ball? So where's our pressure going to be? You work on those little things. So if I'm coaching Michigan, you know, I'm applauding my team. I'm applauding my special team coach. That look, we're beating them here. These are little things that we're beating the enemy on. You know, just wanted to point that out. You got Skip Holtz helping out over there at Northwestern. You know, I think it's a good idea to get a guy there that you might think you might want to put in that full-time job next year, you know, to get a feel for the lay of the land. I don't know if that's what they're thinking. Skip Holtz has been around. I just thought that was interesting.
I thought so too.
You got Paul Chris going down to Texas to help out as an advisor. He knows, you know, he'll know Michigan, but it is what it is. You know, I just thought So interesting to see him get picked up by Texas.
It is. The feedback poster, formerly known as Andres, would look forward to Florida State coming into the big house. I'm with you on that. Sounds amazing. Yeah, everybody, it's either going to be the SEC or the Big Ten, maybe the Big 12 with what they're doing, but the Pac-8 or whatever it is now, 9, they're I don't think they're going to be able to hold in there. What was the thing yesterday? They're going to put all of their games on Apple streaming, which was like, wow, what a move. That sounded like a terrible move to me, or a bunch of.
Oh,
The thing about streaming is like, even if I have streaming, which is fine, it comes in, but until you get it where you can flip around, people don't like it, so I don't know, like they got to do a better job. Technology.
That might be part of the deal. The advertisers might want streaming because it's harder to get, to DVR it and fast forward.
Well, it's a good point. You can't, once you're on, I know that from Thursday Night Football. If I'm watching Thursday Night Football, I'm not flipping around to any other game. I'm just watching Thursday Night Football. It takes,
don't think they haven't thought about that to make it more difficult for you.
That's a good point on the advertising.
It's cost, to watch every Michigan football game this year on television, it's going to cost the average fan more money than it has. You got to, this first game, I got to get this package just for a couple games. This.
Yeah, you got to have the Peacock.
Whatever. Peacock. But now things are really falling in place. Jim sounded great. The players sounded great. But that Big Ten West, there's some good coaches over there. They've stepped up to coaching. Matt Rule again. I think Matt Rule is him and Fickle. Those guys are good. And Rule is going to go down into Texas. That's where Nebraska was good. They got a ton of guys from Texas. They were in the Big 8 at that time, though, so they were playing those Texas schools. It was easier to recruit over there, but I think he's going to go into Texas and try to recruit there. And he's a good coach, man. I just was impressed listening to Matt Rule. So that Big Ten West, which will be the last year of it, but there's some good coaches over there.
I was impressed with Rule as well. And I'm not a big appearance person, I don't care if people wear ties or you can't wear jeans, but Rule, from what I've saw from him at Carolina, he's wearing the Belichick cut. He came in there with that suit and tie and had his hair cut. I was like, wow, that looks like a different guy. He looked like $1 million.
Yeah,
out there.
So I could see where he could go and recruit. I mean, the guy's 2-0 as a head college coach. He built Temple up and he built Baylor up. So, he's got a resume, man, of winning. So. Can he recruit the athletes to go to Nebraska? That's the key. You got to get some players. He's got a good-looking quarterback.
Well, we'll see.
The kid from Georgia Tech is going to be a pain. He can run. He's going to be okay. He's going to be a good player. He's a problem. He can run.
I'm going to have to wait and see on him. What did I? I'm trying to remember what the number was. It stood out enough where I thought that it put a question on him. Out of all eligible quarterbacks last year, the Sims, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He was dead last in QBR. Now he was at Georgia Tech and they're running the ball, so maybe it was a little bit different when it came down with the formula with him throwing it. But when you're dead last in something as a quarterback in QBR, and I think it was the ESPN's QBR, the formulas are a little bit different. But that was to take.
I see a really, really fast guy that throws the ball pretty good, and I don't like going against those guys. I prefer the statues. I prefer the type of kid they had at Purdue. What was his name? Aiden, whatever.
Yeah.
I prefer those guys.
Yeah. Well, Eddie's just glad he has season tickets. He doesn't have to worry about Peacock or anything else. He's just ready to go. I'm just looking at some of the last feedback. These guys, I like it. The people never have a hard time taking a shot at Ohio State. It's always in the back of their mind. Everybody's, taking shots at Ohio State. Doesn't matter. Led by Antoine, who gets in right at the end to take a shot at Ohio State. Don't let those Buckeyes fool you. They just lost some player. They're struggling with defensive recruiting, he said.
You know what, Denny, I'm going to tell you, I remember I heard Urban Meyer talking about he ran a 4-3 defense, and he wanted those edge guys, those 9 techniques coming off the corner. So when he was recruiting a Chase Young, he could say, look, you're going to play this position. You're going to get drafted in the first round, and you're going to get paid a lot of money because you're a defensive end, pass rush, edge guy. Okay. Ohio State isn't running that kind of defense anymore. So, Antoine, you make a good point. Okay. It could hurt the recruiting. Urban Meyer was, he was smart. He was a damn good recruiter. But the Ohio State defensive package now doesn't line up a big old wide 9 edge player and put his hand to the ground and come off like Chase Young. So they can't sell that to kids because this other guy's doing a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, and you pointed out when we watched the tape about Ohio State, whether it was technique, they just in some of the spots it looked like some of the technique was lacking. They were a little standing up. You would say, it was Michigan, Ohio State. Where was the balls out effort from the Buckeyes? I mean, JTT plays against Penn State. He looks like one of the greatest defensive players I ever saw. And then Honingford pancakes him on that one and drives him into the ground. But I remember their safety. I think it's Burke or one of those guys. When McCarthy was running the ball in from the 3-yard line, I mean, he's right there at the goal line. And the safety who could just step into the quarterback and slam him just got out of the way. Didn't even, and it was they look like a finesse defense. I mean, overall, and I know that they had talked about, hey, they're going to work at, they got to worry being physical and everything else, but that was not there. That was not one of the
Danny, let me tell you, I've said this 100 times. The downside of a predominantly spread offense is your defense gets soft. Okay. The upside of a player that plays defense at Michigan is he's got to fight every darn day in practice against that power, that zone. We run everything, so you're gonna be a tough football player defending tough physical run and all the other stuff you have to do because you see it every day. You're gonna have 3 weeks now, 4 weeks of 3 weeks of going against your team, so you're gonna be playing tough football. You're not playing spread. Like the Buckeye defenders are going to play their spread offense for the next 3 weeks. We're playing against freaking 6 offensive linemen and 4 tight ends and fullback. That's our pack. We got it in and we run it. We ran it against Iowa. I just showed the film.
You know who saw it, Scar? Saban. He was on ESPN after the SEC media days, and he was talking about his new offensive coordinator, and he said, look, there are a couple teams. And he didn't say Georgia and Michigan, but that's who he was talking about. He said there are a couple teams, and he said the worm has turned. He said it's about being physical and being able to control the line of scrimmage. So it was about spreading the field. He said, yeah, there's still going to be some RPO stuff. That stuff's still going to be mixed in. But he said it has changed. There's a couple teams that have shown the way, and it's about being physical, and it's about being dominant and being able to control the clock. All of the things that Michigan is doing and Georgia's doing as well. I mean, maybe, I don't know, is there Ole Miss? I know they run the ball a lot. So maybe there'd be another team or two, but obviously the two, they've been in the college football playoff the last 2 years, and one of them won the national championship.
Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, all of us, they all have the physicality, the 3 tight end packages, it's all in there, blended in with the RPO spread game. We're very similar offensively to both those teams. Where the foundation is still, some old school physical tight end type stuff that's blended in with spread. So Saban's absolutely right, and I hope you'd like to think he was talking about Michigan.
Buckeye West lining up. He says Michigan fans think the forward pass is the air raid offense. Hey, get ready. Get ready again, Wes. It's coming right at you. It's going to punch you right in the face again this year. Go ahead. Play all that, spread offense and everything. You have that kind of mentality, and you go into the game coming up on the 25th of November up in Ann Arbor, you guys are going to get your ass kicked again. I hope everybody keeps that mentality.
Who cares? Just win. Hey, just win, baby. I don't care if we got to hand the ball to the fullback, whatever we got to do. And Jim understands it. We're going to have a versatile offensive attack.
Keep it up, Wes. Hey, Wes, I want to see more of you come in here. I like you talking. I like you talking a little trash about Michigan. Bring it on, Wes. Let's go. It's ready. We're ready for the season. Oh, Wes coming in here talking. Let's go. Mixing it up. I'm going to put a tie on next time for Wesley. Let's do it. Scar, you got anything else?
No, we're ready to roll, man. We're just we're chomping at the bit. We got a great team coming back. Ain't nobody complacent up there. Not with the Jim Harbaugh I know. Hell no. That ain't happening. He's chomping at the bit, and he will have those guys rolling. There ain't no complacency happening there.
I'm with you. Great job, Scar. Can't wait to talk with you next week.
All right, man. Go Blue.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli.